Beloved friends, it's with profound thanks to this staff that I want to begin this afternoon. These have been beautiful services, truly beautiful. Changes, yes, but there was an enormous amount of beauty in the liturgy, in the music, certainly in the words that have been shared with us. It's a meaningful and important time. It's one that we shall not forget. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank, obviously, clergy for the music, for the beautiful sermons, two of which I have not heard yet. Not my fault. I was online, and it's one of them is your fault, Liz. I will tell you right now. Rosh Hashanah evening, when Rabbi Black got up here to speak, and he had his hearing aids, and there was a problem with the technology, you pulled his hearing aids out. Well, I just want you to know that we lost. It stopped. So I'm going to, you even said that to me. You even heard that. There was a...
Great news. It's a good day to apologize. So, al chet shechatanu lefanecha. I'm so sorry.
And since it's a good day to apologize, if I embarrass you, okay.
I got you.
So that one I didn't hear.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay.
And I do have to say that on second morning of Rosh Hashanah, I don't know what happened to our TV went off and a football game appeared. No, that's not true. It's not true. No, not true. Our technology failed us, so I haven't seen your sermon either. But I did hear yours, and I did hear yours this morning. Beautiful. And I heard yours last night. So I'm about ready to stop hearing or listening. But I thank you all. Honestly, I do. And for the beautiful music, and thanks to all the staff here. They make things work. The program staff, the custodial staff, the tech staff, each plays an important role in the life of our synagogue. Now, I also want to say something about this particular moment 4 years ago. You will remember we were in the throes of another election. And it was Yisker. And I had the opportunity to speak. And I guess I spoke a little longer than I had planned. And we were in the midst of an election cycle. Now, I don't want anybody to think I'm going to do that again. I promise I am not going to do that again. Charles, I'm not going to, we won't have to have breakfast again because of that. Is Dick still here? Is Dick still here? I didn't mean that Dick. I meant Dick Robinson, my favorite Republican, of course. Anyway, okay, Dick, you won't have to worry. Those of you who have absolutely no idea of what I'm talking about and think that this has something to do with politics, it doesn't. I just want you to know I haven't changed my attitudes. I haven't changed my opinions, and I'm concerned. But for those of you who have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, ask the person next to you because they'll fill you in. You're wondering about the windows. I'm coming to that later. Okay? Don't think, I haven't forgotten a thing. And if you're wondering why I have a robe on, I'll tell you that in a few minutes as well. It's part of this sermon. Last Saturday night, Joyce and I went to a play. We saw the play Kimberly Akumbo. And a very interesting play about a young woman who's 16 years old who has that disease of getting maturity much too fast, and she's supposed to die around 16 years of age from premature aging. And of course, questions, and she and her friends question, what does that all mean? And what is she supposed to do? What is the nature of aging for her? And what is her life supposed to be about? She had choices to make, how to live. She was toward the end of her life. She was 16. She said 16 is about the time that people with her disease would die. And she was trying to figure out whether to live or not. Some of you a number of years ago may have read Harold Kushner's book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. I'm sure many of you have read it. If you haven't, it's still a very, very important book to read. And he wrote it because his son had progeria. And while he was 17 or 18, he looked like he was 90. And he died at a very young age. And it raised all of those questions for Kushner. And he tried to deal with it in a book, and it's really a book worth reading. Taking the time to read it again if you've already read it once. It's not about his son. It's really not about him. May he rest in peace. It's about all of us. How do we live with meaning in our lives when our lives are going to be cut short? So today I want to speak to you, and I want you to have 4 takeaways for what I want to say. 4. First, I want us to talk about a little bit about uncertainty. Secondly, I want us to talk a little bit about our bucket list. What can we do? Thirdly, I want us to talk a little bit about, can we make a difference in other lives? And lastly, I want us to talk about hope. Whether hope is to be a part of who we might become. So first, let me talk a little bit about uncertainty. We're here on Yom Kippur, and during the holidays, beautifully, beautifully sung, Unatana Tokef. Beautiful. And it touches us. And it makes us try to understand the uncertainties of life. Some of you are here today because you've lost people that you've loved. Most of you are. And I dare say that no matter how long we live, we'll all lose somebody we love. Somebody that made a difference to us. And they die for different reasons. Some die in old age. Thank God that they can do that. Some die in accidents, and some die in young age. But whenever it is, it's an uncertain time. That's why it says, who by fire and who by water, who shall live and who shall die. It's uncertain. And we don't know what that certainty is about. Certainly we don't. We think about it, though. Just a few minutes ago, somebody said, if we are here next year, that's what this is about. If we're here next year, I certainly hope that all of us are here next year. But having been a rabbi in this congregation now for 54 and a half years, doesn't happen that way. Some of us will not be here next year. And we're all now, whether we want to or not, we're living with that uncertainty. So what do we do with the time we have? Even if some of us will have long lives, we don't know who those will be. What do those of us who may have a shorter period of time to live, what do we do with that time? What's it supposed to be about? Secondly, I want us to think about our bucket list. Think about what we want others to learn from this moment, the moment of our lives. We want others to be taught about whether or not we made a difference in this world. Frankly, our purpose is not just to make a living, it's to make a difference. And once we learn to make the difference, it will change our lives. It's supposed to change our lives. I read a book not too long ago called A Brief History of the Dead, a book written by Kevin Brookmeyer. The book is a very simple one. He tries to answer some of the questions that you and I ask all the time. And frankly, questions that I deal with every single time I'm called upon to say a few words at someone's funeral. Because I talk about, we have different points of view about what's going to happen to us, but we all want to know what's going to happen when we're gone. What's going to happen? And he tries to answer it, and he says, you know, this thing called immortality, how long does it last? And he says, well, it usually lasts until someone in this world is the last one to remember somebody who's gone. And when those memories no longer live, that's when that immortality disappears. So I wore this robe today. I knew that they weren't going to. And last few years, that's the way it's been. And I'm not complaining. But, well, sort of. And I'll tell you why. And I asked them for their permission to wear this robe today. I grew up in a synagogue just like this one in Milwaukee. Temple Emanuel. Now, remember, I'm 81 now. It's a long time ago when I was a kid. And my rabbi, Rabbi Weinberg, and my cantor Alshaler, they all wore robes during the holidays. And the rabbis, no cantors, that preceded them, they wore robes for the holidays. And when Rabbi Friedman came from this temple to serve the temple in Milwaukee, he wore a robe on Rosh Hashanah and the High Holy Days. Rabbi Stone of blessed memory wore a robe. Now, he did not wear a talit. I will have to say that. So if I was going to be totally honest, I would take this off and say, I just want to remember all of them. But the truth is, they all wore robes. And I also have to tell you, it was not about them. It was about you. It was about lifting up the day. I was on television last week when I lost your sermon. And I was watching two synagogues that Rabbi Liz, or Cantor Liz, almost to be Rabbi Liz, Park Avenue Synagogue and Central Synagogue in New York. One was her congregation as a child, and one was a congregation she served. And I turned them both on the other day. And guess what? Clergy wore robes. And it wasn't about them. It was about the congregation and lifting up that congregation. So as long as that happens, immortality can exist. That's my point. And that's why I decided to wear this today. Right or wrong. Because I believe that we cannot forget about what other people in the past have done. Was it part of their bucket list? I don't know. But they made a difference. And they made a difference to me. Third reason that I want you to be thinking about for today, because it's important to me. It's the difference that we will make and what we want to leave behind for our children, for our grandchildren, for our great-grandchildren. We want to make sure that we took it seriously. There's a great story told about, where is it? Oh, here it is. Great story told about Rav Shneur Zalman. He was reported, his opponents, even amongst Hasidim, there's this side and this side, okay? And the opponents of Hasidism reported him to the Tsar. And the rabbi was put in jail. His jailer, a devout man, had a tremendous interest in the Bible, but he was the jailer. The jailer asked the rabbi, how are we to understand that God, the all-knowing, said to Adam, Ayeka, where are you? How do we understand that? After all, the jailer said, God, who knows everything, should certainly know where Adam is. So why did he say, Ayeka, where are you? He wasn't asking about where he was on the map. He was asking him where he was in his quest, whatever it was, to be a better human being. So his Ayeka was, have you taken that bucket list that you had and have you tried to work on it? And if you have, wonderful. And if you have you found things that you have done that you like, that you have passed on to the next generation? If you've done that, write a will, an ethical will. I know that you're doing it here. I had a request last night, true story. I had a request last night from somebody who said, I just finished my ethical will. Could I send it to you, and would you read it? I said, sure. By the time I got home, he had a request, what's my email address? So at 11 o'clock last night, he sent me his ethical will, his eulogy for himself, because that's really what an ethical will is. It is really what you say about yourself that you think you want to pass on to the next generation. And he wrote a beautiful ethical will, and I responded to him. Ayeka, he was there. The question is, where are each of us in that process, what it is that we want to leave behind? When somebody gives a eulogy for you, what do you want them to say? And I don't mean all the accomplishments. I really mean, what kind of person are you? Because I believe with all my heart and soul that a person is who that person is, and that's what makes them do what they do. It's not the other way around. Ayeka, can we take from this Yizkor service the question for ourselves? Ayeka, where are you? And lastly, I want us to think about hope. Another beautiful story. Rabbi Hugo Grin was a Holocaust survivor who said he learned his most important theological lessons not in a yeshiva or in a rabbinical school, but in the concentration camp. During the winter of 1944, he was interred in the same camp with his own father. The older Grin announced that it was Hanukkah, and he produced a clay ball. He lit wicks, emerged in a bit of margarine taken from the daily rations. When the younger Grin protested the waste of food, his father looked at him and said, "You and I have seen that it is possible to live up to 3 weeks without food. We once lived almost 3 days without water. But you cannot live properly for even 3 minutes without hope." Now I want us to look at those windows. She was good to us today. I've been doing this for many, 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 many years. You know, synagogues are usually faced east, but this one's faced north. And I don't know if it's true or not, but the great architect of this building faced it north. I've always liked to say, and again, I don't know if it's true or not. I never asked him this question. But the truth is, I think he faced it this way because if we had been faced east at this time on Yom Kippur Afternoon, we would miss that window. We don't miss it. And I like to believe that that window represents hope. We can't think about our loved ones unless we think about what that hope is about. And that hope is about celebrating our lives. But as Rabbi Black said last night, and I thank you again for saying that, I try to do this every year as well. That hope has to include our ability to reach out to the people from whom we are estranged. Hope will work once we can break through that pain. And it happens all the time. Trust me, it happens. And when it happens at the end of life. It's really too late. So I would urge you to take the hope from that window. The hope from Rabbi Grin saying we can't not live 3 minutes without hope, even though we can live without other things. To transfer it to those areas that we really need to work on ourselves. There is no easy way to enter Yizkor on this year. We have heard a lot about what it means and what it has meant for our people. There's no easy way for us to be here. But I hope that we will take our time together and that we will learn and that we will find out through our hard work that our lives are uncertain, that there is a bucket list of things to do and we can write our own eulogies, give them to our loved ones, that we can make a difference, we can have hope, we can live in a way that brings peace amongst us.